What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel yet again. My name is Matt, and today we're going to be taking a look at part 2 of the article that we started last video. Now, I know what you're thinking. Do I really want to read any more of this stupid article that was called, again, 10 Signs That Your Mental Illness is for Attention? Well, I don't want to really go through it either, but I think it's interesting content, and it's something that we can all talk about, and I think it will give insight to those who have these kind of beliefs and thoughts about how mental illness works, about, that people are just kind of out faking it, and maybe it's not as bad as it seems to be to them. So, with that in mind, we're going to continue with number 6. Oh yeah, and another disclaimer. If you thought 1 through 5 were terribly written, poorly understood by the person writing it, and made your blood boil, wait till you see number 6. Number 6 is exactly what I mean when I talk about the stigma behind mental health, and why I make the videos I do, why I always go above and beyond, I think, to really try to bring home the point that the stigma is the thing that you're fighting the most in this area. It's the misunderstanding, the miscommunication, and all the faulty, stupid, and honestly bullshit beliefs that people believe about people just like you and me with any sort of mental disorder of any kind. So, fasten your seatbelts, because this one's gonna get ugly. Number 6. You think it's going to... I can't talk. Let's try it again. You think it's controversial to talk about. If you think that it's still a controversial thing to announce to your Facebook friends that you struggle with bouts of anxiety, you're either living under a rock or looking to be a martyr. It's not controversial anymore. Everyone is open with their struggles with mental illness and posting stuff about, you shouldn't be ashamed of your depression, girlfriend. It's just redundant. If you need to announce it, fine, but don't pretend like you're being brave by saying you're sad sometimes. The first thing I'm going to point out, of many things that I fucking hate about this one, the very last sentence. Don't pretend like you're being brave by saying you're sad sometimes. Why does that piss me off so much? It goes back to the whole idea that people think depression is just being sad sometimes. Because that's literally what they just said. So therefore that is how they conceptualize depression. Oh, you're just sad. Why are you talking about that? Everyone gets sad sometimes. You don't hear me bitching. You don't hear me posting about it. It goes back to that stigma video I did, which again I'll post up here in the cards or in the description, because it goes over this in so much detail. I was really happy with it because it was just, this is the biggest thing that we have to fight against. It's just the amount of misinformation and faulty beliefs that other people have, because they just think generalizations, and they throw everyone under the same bus. Well, they throw us under the same umbrella, and then they run a server with the bus. It's terrible. And it's such a fucking problem. And that's why I'm making this video. That's why I'm making part 1 of this video. And that's why I make this point in so many of my videos, is because this is the biggest thing that we need to address. So first of all, depression does not equal sad sometimes. It just doesn't. Look it up in a DSM. It's not going to say, person feels sad sometimes. Oh, you qualify for major depressive disorder, or bipolar depression, or cyclothymia, or dysthymia, or persistent depressive disorder, I think it's called now. Either way, it's way more complicated than that. That's simple. Secondly, the next part, the main part of this, that keeps using this big C word. It's not cancer. It's not controversial anymore. Really. I'm pretty sure the fact that you just said that and made an article about this, is actually the most controversial part about this, is you saying it's not controversial. Do you realize how stupid this person sounds? Or is it just me? I'm starting to think it's funny. Again, there are so many misconceptions. So many problems with people who think this way. They undermine, they devalue, they diminish, they underappreciate the complexity, the severity, and the all over the placeness, or what I would more accurately refer to as the fact that mental illness is a clusterfuck to navigate, to understand, to process, to accept, to treat, and to manage for the rest of your life. The idea that people think that people who are talking about their problems are inherently the problem is really probably what someone would consider to be more of an act of projecting the fact that they feel that way. And either way, it's absolute ridiculous that somebody actually thinks that this is not controversial in 2020. That everyone is open with their mental health and, you know, everyone gets sad sometimes. No. Okay, I've had enough of number 6. Let's go to number 7. Number 7. Even though your relationships have clear patterns, you don't accept that they might be your fault. It's never you. It's always your string of completely unique exes who all just happen to be terrible people and just couldn't accommodate your #illness. Ugh. Next time, you'll date someone who gets you. Oh, here we go. So, by number 7 here, they already start getting off topic. Talking about a set of unique exes, blah, 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 that make you, that left you because they couldn't deal with you. First of all, let's address the fact that that actually happens far more than I think people would ever realize. The amount of people who just simply are not prepared to deal with mental illness. You know, it's the same kind of people who say, I'll always be there for you, I'm always going to be your friend. You know those people, right? And that's all well and good. They say all that, and sure, maybe they mean it. But then they, they see some symptoms, or you start showing symptoms. You start showing them the truth, the reality, the pain, and the suffering involved in dealing with these conditions. And then you look, they're gone. It's happened to me more times than I care to ever admit. And it always sucks. And here's the more interesting thing. My first relationship with my first boyfriend, he was my friend of 12 years at that point. And this is when I first developed the fear of abandonment, when I first lashed out in anger and jealousy and fear of him leaving me for someone else. And it ruined the relationship. I wasn't diagnosed. I had no idea what was going on. I just felt this way, and it was so intense and powerful, and I acted on it, and I threatened stuff, and I blew it. And yes, he broke up with me, and that was it. And that was over 6 years ago. I was 18. Now I'm 25. And, do I blame him? No. He didn't make me this way. I was inherently already this way. It just took that powerful episode, or that powerful kind of feeling of losing him to someone else, that kind of set off a chain reaction in me. So first of all, I don't think most people run around blaming their exes for the reason that they have mental illness. And I'm sure that there are many people who would say they do, and quite validly so. People with PTSD who were sexually assaulted, they are going to blame their the people who have hurt them, because that's exactly what they did. And that is the reason, in at least a large number of cases, that they did end up with these kind of disorders. But generally speaking, most people are not running around blaming their exes for their problems. And at this point, the article starts to unravel. Let's go to number 8. Now, number 8, what I love about this one is it basically seems that the person who wrote this article has no, and I do mean the word no, as in absolutely zero, comprehension of the purpose behind such things such as social media. Let's take a look. Number 8. You constantly post baiting things so that people will ask what's wrong. It's been a bad day, frowny face. Not feeling good. Ugh, I can't even. Yeah, you're posting those statuses because you want people to ask how you are, and you want to vent about it. But everyone has problems, and using the feel sorry for me card over and over again is incredibly irritating for everyone around you. Now, this is probably the only one on here that I can say personally for me. I do this sometimes with my friends. Not on social media, not statuses or something, but really just, texting back and forth, messaging back and forth with my friends who know all about me, know all about my problems, and there have been times where a few of them have kind of gotten annoyed and have kind of pointed out, you need to go talk to your therapist about this, or try a different medicine. Just talking to me all the time about the same problems and how you're feeling depressed and you can't sleep and you're miserable. I don't really know what to say to that anymore. And at first that seemed like, oh great, so you're telling me to go fuck myself. Wonderful. What kind of friend are you? And it was kind of annoying, because that was not helpful. That's not what I was expecting to hear. And I was pretty annoyed at them for a little while. But, I would sit there and reread what they said over and over and over again. And as I often do. And I started realizing, okay, they kind of have a point. How many times do you want to hear somebody just say, I'm tired, I'm depressed all the time, I'm having panic attacks, and, how many times can you hear that before it kind of becomes, what do you want me to say? I've been told by other friends, other people in general, that I'm very negative. I don't really have much of a positive outlook, I guess, or demeanor. To this end, I also somewhat agree. But at the same time, I also think after so many years of running around pretending that I'm fine, that things aren't as bad as they are. I think in my age now, I've gotten tired of hiding and tired of putting on this facade and this, this illusion of everything's great. They know that it's not, and I'm a little bit more blunt, a little bit more honest than I used to be. And I don't think that there's necessarily a problem with that. Me personally, I understand that I am a little bit more negative than some people would probably like me to be. But there's been statistical studies that show that people with depression and related kind of disorders they tend to be seen by other people as just being very negative. But in reality, studies show that generally speaking, we're a little bit more realistic. We point out the flaws in a plan of doing something, or a potential thing that you want to do, or other people. And it's not necessarily that we just enjoy being negative, but it's kind of this idea that we kind of see the cup half empty. And so we look to that and we point that out to people, because some people like to be blinded by positivity. And they only think about the good things and the positive things that can happen from an interaction or a plan going right. Well, it pays to know about the other side of the coin, doesn't it? So, again, am I guilty of this sometimes? Sure, a lot of people are. But then again, the flip side, of course, is that a lot of people, they feel comfortable venting online. They feel comfortable venting to friends and family and people that they trust. And maybe that's the only way that they can communicate what they're experiencing to other people. Not everyone has a therapist or has the ability to see a therapist or afford a therapist, which is terrible. So, being able to simply comment on what's going on or make posts about what you're going through and looking for support, I think shaming people or trying to scare people or dissuade people and saying that you must be faking and blowing things out of proportion, your little cry for help statuses are bullshit. I think there's more to it than that. All right, number 9. So I will say number 9 is the last one that actually relates to anything mental health. Number 10, I'm not even going to bother with, because it was something about different genders not being real or something stupid. So I just now remembered that. So we're not going to do number 10. That's stupid. Number 9 is the last one that has anything to do with mental health. So here we go. You're trying, or rather, you're not trying to get better. Maybe you take medication, maybe you're in therapy, but when it comes to the behavior that you're doing over and over again, you're not interested in doing the hard work that's required to overcome mentally ill behaviors. You're interested in talking about it and identifying as a person who has whatever, but you're not interested in being better, because that's no fun. Okay, so let's start with you're not interested in being better. Let's start with that. As a person who has been feeling this way for so many years, not as many years as other people, but many years, it is the kind of thing that you get used to. You get complacent in how you feel. And if you always feel depressed and anxious, and you never really have a very positive outlook, things always kind of seem to not go right in life, and it tends to stab you in the back and hit you in the face with a truck. If that's how you're always experiencing life, and that's how you always end up feeling, then why would you expect someone to suddenly just be able to turn around and not feel that way? First of all, with that, like I said, the idea that people are used to feeling a certain way, and you can't expect them to just snap your fingers and magically change thought processes, to change behaviors, to change actions, to change all sorts of just self-identifying behavior. It's very hard to do that. And especially in something that's been ingrained in you, like a personality disorder. BPD, there's still going to be things that will persist over time, because it's so enveloped in aspects of every part of your life. The way you think about other people, the way you think or perceive other people think or perceive you. I mean, there's so much to this, right? But number 1, the biggest point I would say is obviously the fact that change is kind of odd. And when you've been this way for so long, you don't really know what getting better or feeling better or not being this way feels like, right? Number 2, with this, going back to the part of, oh, you take medicine and you go to therapy, but like you don't actually try to actually do anything about really getting better. First of all, this shows incredible ignorance towards the understanding that medication and therapy are generally not cures. They're treatments. They help manage a disorder. They don't really treat them. Furthermore, with this, they both take extensive amounts of time to really have any progress, or to really show any progress of improvement. And even then, what you might perceive as improvement, I might not see as improvement in myself. Someone might say that I seem more positive lately, and I might say I don't feel any more positive. I think I'm still reacting and being the same way I was before I started therapy or this medication. I don't notice a difference. Someone else might. Does it mean it's more or less true? Who knows? In addition to taking long periods of time to show effectiveness or potential improvement, medications have an incredible, ridiculous list of side effects, and every one will affect someone differently. Just because something worked great for my ex-boyfriend, some antipsychotic worked great for him, it would do disastrous things to me, just based on my genetic testing that I've had done and how I was on Abilify 2 years ago. All antipsychotics are ruled out for me, which is a lot of medication that could be very beneficial. Is it worth the side effects and the risks involved? To me, no. So again, undermining treatment. And I've talked about it in treatment video I did a while ago. Again, there are no cures. It is treatment. It is about preventing episodes. It's about trying to minimize different behaviors and different symptoms. But you're not treating. You're not curing any of these disorders. So putting too much faith and conceptualizing these medications and therapy as being the end-all be-all cure is bullshit, and too many people have that kind of thought process with it, and it's just not accurate. So this was part 2 of the rest of the questions from, or concerns or points from that article on 10 signs that your mental illness is for attention. I'm pretty sure I just debuked every single one of them, and that's why I really wanted to do this. There was a lot of good points, and I thought it covered a large variety of bases with misconceptions and things that people really seem to think about mental illness, about mental health in general. And again, it pays to be researched, it pays to have experience, and it ultimately, at the end of the day, I always say, we're all people, and we are more than our disorders, and there are a lot more things to us than just what we deal with these symptoms and with these issues. So always treating people like the people they are is the most important thing. Don't devalue someone because their depression doesn't seem serious or as bad as someone else you know. Don't compare yourself and your symptoms to other people either. That's not helpful. Don't place too much emphasis on treatment being a cure, because it just isn't. And you don't want to give yourself the false hope, and you certainly don't want to give the person that actually has the disorder false hope that it's going to cure them when it clearly won't. Don't compare these sorts of things, and just in general, please do more research before you write an article like this, or you have thoughts that this person had. It just shows a lack of attention, a dismissiveness towards people who are legitimately suffering and are truly less functioning and less better off because of their disorder. They didn't choose it. I didn't choose it. And it's a way of life that takes adjustment and compassion and caring. And having these kinds of thoughts is not going to help with any of that. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. This was part 2, remember, and I'll see you in the next video for another mental health topic.